At LaxCon Day 2, wishing a happy belated birthday to
Thank
Dustin of Stylin Strings. And stringers really make lacrosse. Let's be honest, with nothing in between the head, you're not going to get very far playing.
Yeah.
And Stylin Strings is making tons of advancements in stringing, but specifically, you guys have been doing a lot in women's stringing recently. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So the women's game with the rule change, it's been interesting. You know, we've been here, this is our 18th year at the convention. So since 2001, we came in with hybrids and stuff when it was traditionally either a pita pocket at that time or mesh. So about 2 years ago, we tried to switch our focus over to the women's game because the men's game started to get saturated. There's so many mesh manufacturers, and we're like, all right, how can we start differentiating ourselves and what we've done? Kind of always trying to reinvent ourselves. So we took all the technology and thing that we had for 18 years in the men's hybrids and just took it right in the women's. So now it's kind of like the space race in the lacrosse industry, and we've already been integrated, and we kind of service 20 to 30 NCAA Division 1, 2, 3 schools where we're doing all the team stringing, and then also projects with like Epic where we're doing 4,000 ladder pockets. So we've kind of got into the contract stringing game, which again was a nice advancement for us and what we're doing, and getting feedback from them and kind of working through the process and working with the NCAA. What is legal? And today working with referees to say, all right, how strict are you going to be? What's your interpretation? Because it's not clear from the top down. So we have to kind of be the liaison now to the industry and educate like we've always done. And it really starts on the streets and at the grassroots level. Most people market from the top down, and we go the opposite way, from the bottom up. So it's really about educating, and I could go on, but
I mean, we completely agree, and that's the whole thing. We're here, and we're trying to get as many pockets into players' hands that are useful, and that's the best way that we believe, and I'm sure you believe, lacrosse
100%.
is going to excel.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, the excelling and the advancement of lacrosse is always known as a growing sport, but what some people don't necessarily realize is that the growth of lacrosse isn't growing except for in the women's game. How have you seen the advancements in women's lacrosse actually boosting the entire industry?
I think it's about excitement. If anything, once you get conversation, that conversation gives the ability for things to spread. And we're all now unified. The lacrosse industry is starting to become more, instead of everybody trying to keep their marbles on the table, we're seeing as an industry now, we're all realizing, let's work together. Most of us are buddies or friends, and less of that competition. A lot of people are more apt to like trade ideas and kind of what their vision is, as opposed to keeping it hush-hush to get more of that, saturation, and trying to get back to where we were 5 years ago, to where we're getting it in the kids' hands for the first time and they're not putting the stick down. Because the growth of the club movement just started to choke the growth. You got kids that can't afford, or parents that can't afford to spend $4,000 or $5,000 in a summer, and then if they're not the top elite on their team, they'd rather stay home and play video games. And that's an unfortunate problem for the industry that as an industry we need to solve. And how can we solve it and be influencers from a social media standpoint and stringing standpoint to use our voice to kind of keep growing and keep pushing?
I completely agree with all that, and honestly, the fact that it's getting difficult for players to become elite players the way that they want to, or at least get significant playing time, is difficult. So one of the other challenges is really getting a stick that a player is happy with. When you guys are preparing a stick for someone, what do you take into account when you're about to string that stick?
I mean, we take just some data points from them. What's your position? What were you using? What didn't you like? Most of the times with stringing anything, you're trying to solve a problem. And if people don't know, and the mom or dad has no idea, we can at least say, from our knowledge here, and put some in their hands that they can't go wrong. In the guys' game, it's always like, there for a while, for years, it was like everybody wanted a high pocket with a ton of whip. Well, little Johnny that's just picking a stick up for the first time, that's going to be terrible. So we weren't afraid to tell the parents, no, we're not giving that to you, as opposed to trying to just take their money and build our business. We stood our ground and made sure we're giving somebody something that they can use and effectively add value, add to their game. What can make you better? You can buy a $130 titanium shaft. You can buy a $120 piece of plastic, but that $50 pocket, in most cases, is going to give them more performance. It's the one way where you can get in a competitive advantage. you know.
Completely, and that's the thing that a lot of players don't realize is how much power their pocket truly has over their game, how much it influences your ability to play, and how personal it is to players specifically. So I do have one question for you to end. What's better in your opinion, a fresh customized stick and pocket or a fresh home-cooked meal?
Wow. Man, that's a toss-up. I think I got to ride the line, man. I think it's 50-50.
You heard it here first. He loves to eat. He loves his lacrosse sticks. Thank you again, Dustin, for talking to us. Best of luck to Stylin Strings. One of the few great ones in the industry that's pushing innovation that's really in players' hearts.
Yeah, you go back to like getting our start on e-lacrosse in 99, 2000. So to be here 18 years, still be alive in an industry that was so tight-knit. I got to give hats off to my boy Joe at Throne, Greg at ECD, the guys at String King. Like, we got a good group of people, I think, that is now pushing the next generation. And now partnering with a lot of the great manufacturers at Epic and Adidas and STX. Like, we're at a good spot, but it's time to grind.